If The Greatest Showman wasn't rewriting history to fit its own narrative, it would be a near perfect film. While I have a lot of praise for many aspects of the film, I don't think it should exist in the way that it does. This is a fictionalized account of P.T. Barnum. And when I learned that, initially I was quite annoyed because I hate fictionalized accounts of true people. Yes, making small changes here and there for the flow of the narrative, absolutely fine. But I learned that this is heavily fictionalized, and this is a big problem because P.T. Barnum was a very problematic individual. He had some very shady, apparently really exploitative practices. So if somebody watches this film, they're going to think that P.T. Barnum was this absolutely incredible person. Yes, he achieved a lot, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but it doesn't highlight any of the problems. So if this is somebody's introduction to the individual and they don't do any additional reading, they're not going to know about those problems, and that's rewriting history. There was one simple thing The Greatest Showman could have done to avoid this problem, and that is simply changing the character's name. The film was released in 2017. It's directed by Michael Gracey. It's written by Jenny Bix and Bill Condon, and we have an incredible cast, including Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Zendaya, various others. Hugh Jackman plays P.T. Barnum, and the real Barnum and the Barnum in the film built up this circus from nothing. And I think that that's a lovely story. I think that's very inspirational, both in terms of real life and in the film. From the research that I've done, that aspect of it seems quite realistic. And I don't have a problem with that part of it. All they had to do is change the name of Barnum and then just say that this film was inspired by some aspects of that character's life. But instead, they're presenting a film that seems like it's going to be biographical. But because they're missing out so many key details of Barnum's character and some of the unacceptable things that they did, they are basically rewriting his character, rewriting his history, and that is always going to be a problem. Now, I understand their reasons for not including the morally questionable things that he did, because this is a very happy, sparkly, magical story. And if they included some of the things that I've read about, that certainly wouldn't be the case. Fair enough. Just change the character's name. Don't imply that you're telling Barnum's story. Tell a story inspired by some of the things that he achieved. And none of this would be a problem. That aside, the rest of the film is brilliant. The story works well. The pacing is great. It really is a magical experience. The performances are brilliant. The costumes are gorgeous. The music is so, so beautiful. It is stunning to look at. It is so easy to feel part of the journey with the characters, and it truly is amazing. And if I didn't do even the tiniest bit of research beforehand, I haven't read many articles. I read a few things on Wikipedia. I read some things to fact check it. Of course, I'm by no means an expert, but the point there is that it doesn't take a lot of research to learn the truth about some of Barnum's practices. If I were to watch this film and not research it, I would have thought it was an absolutely incredible experience. But if anybody does even just the teeny tiniest bit of research, they will learn that actually this is really hiding some really important details, and I consider that to be a big issue. If they'd just changed the name, I wouldn't have had any ill feelings towards this film at all. And I think it's worth mentioning that a film should stand on its own 2 feet. It shouldn't rely on external knowledge to be enjoyed. I don't expect people to watch the film and then do additional research. I don't think that's a valid expectation. Obviously, I encourage it. I think that that's just a great thing to do, to expand on knowledge. But I don't think anybody should have to do that. And that means that if somebody watches this film, they're going to think all of these glorious things about Barnum, and they're not going to be aware of the much darker reality. So it's really, really irresponsible. It's rewriting history. Let's be inspired by the uplifting, powerful moments in history, but let's not rewrite the narrative to make it fit the story that we'd rather it was. And that's exactly what The Greatest Showman is doing. Just change the name. That's all they had to do. And they wouldn't be rewriting history. They would just be taking inspiration from part of history. And I wouldn't have a problem. Do I like the film? Every aspect of this film is absolutely spectacular. But as I said, I don't think it should exist the way it does. I think it's very irresponsible. And ultimately, while I do recommend it for the entertainment, I most certainly don't recommend it if you're looking to learn about Barnum. I think it's irresponsible. I think it's a very poor decision. And unfortunately, that takes away from what ultimately would have been a near perfect film.